Welcome to sightedmoon.com. My name is Joe Dumont, and I want to show you some things about the current climate change or the temperatures that are going up in the world. In this short video, we're going to show you here in the upper left-hand corner is North America, and in the central region of this video is Europe. Europe represents the great whore of Revelation chapter 18, Babylon, in the last days. And the temperatures here are going to be mainly focused on Europe for some strange reason. So I wanted to share that with you. I want you to understand that, and I want you to understand why this is so important. It's because we are living in the last days, and through our Sabbatical and Jubilee charts that we have at sightedmoon.com, we know that we're in the final Jubilee Cycle. We know that there's only 22 years until the 7th millennium begins. So all end-time prophecy has to take place at that time. Again, watch this video here and notice how the temperatures are going to start to spike up here, especially starting after 1996 when this last Jubilee cycle began. Watch the temperatures peak as we come to 2020. And then know that in the next chart, 15 of the hottest years on record after 1998. And remember, the Jubilee year began, or the Jubilee cycle began in 1996. This last 120th Jubilee cycle that we are living in right now. In this next chart, you're going to see a similar pattern over the last 100 or so years. In the bottom left corner is Europe, and in the upper left corner is, you'll see two spikes go up there. One's for Canada, and the other one is for the United States. And they seem to reach the 2% level that this chart is recording here for temperature increasing. There's the Canadian one, there it is again, and Canadian and American right there, peaking at the top. On this next chart, we're going to show you again the temperature changes from around the world, only you can see them on the map itself. And you're going to see again, after 1996, how the temperatures are going to spike and get hotter than they've ever gotten. And that is because we are in the 120th Jubilee cycle. Genesis 6:3 says there's only going to be 120, and we're in the last one now. All of this is documented on our website, sightedmoon.com, but these charts are validating what God has said He would do. He's going to send extreme weather, and He's also said in Revelations that it's going to get much worse than what it is now. Watch as it peaks after 1996. You can see how judgment is now coming on not just the nations of Israel, not just the great whore, but all the world. Judgment is now on all the world, and it will get worse. Notice a little bar graph down below taking off after 1990. Again, it's going to get much worse.
The United Nations has warned the world is on a catastrophic pathway to a hotter planet, saying countries simply aren't doing enough to reduce emissions. New analysis from the UN, examining commitments from more than 100 countries, including Australia's, has found that they would result in emissions rising by nearly 16% by 2030. The UN says there needs to be a 45% cut over that same time frame to hit so-called net zero. The UN Secretary-General says failure to reach this goal will be measured in the massive loss of lives and livelihoods.
In countries like Kenya, the changing climate has already affected millions of people. They're living through longer, more severe droughts and less intense rainy seasons, and they're walking further to find water. The climate has changed. We don't get water from underground anymore because the wells have dried up. Just months ago, Greece, Italy and Cyprus were hit by devastating fires, forcing the climate crisis to the top of the agenda at this weekend's Mediterranean Leaders Summit.
The fires left no Mediterranean country unscathed. While Europe's north suffered deadly floods, it's the strongest proof that the environmental crisis affects us all.
At the current pace, the UN says the world's heading for a 2.7 degree increase by the end of the century if emissions are not curbed.
There's now overwhelming evidence that heat-related events, extreme heat waves, underwater heat waves, bleaching of the Great Barrier Reef, those are directly linked to climate change.
The US is the world's second biggest emitter, but President Biden wants to change that, convening a World Leaders online forum just 6 weeks out from the UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow.
We have to bring to Glasgow our highest possible ambitions. Those that have not yet done so, time is running out.
Big emitters like China, India and Saudi Arabia were among dozens of countries which didn't submit new pledges in time for the UN report. But the report did find the pace of climate change hasn't been slowed by the pandemic. In Turkana in Kenya, they were used to a drought every decade. Now there's a drought every 2 years.
When the drought came, it brought new animal diseases and we lost a lot of livestock. Now children go hungry because there's no milk.
The UN is urging nations to act before it's too late. Jenny Lavelle, ABC News.
This is the 120th Jubilee, read from right to left. This is also the 70th week, or the 70th Jubilee Cycle mentioned in Daniel chapter 9. The first curse of terror applies to the first from 1996 to 2002. The second curse of extreme weather and drought starts in 2003 to 2009, and each of these curses is compounded on the previous one. Severe and extreme plagues start in 2010, bird flu, swine flu, Ebola, SARS, MERS, and they continue for the rest of the cycle. Then we have COVID starting in 2020. COVID happens to be the middle of the 70th week mentioned in Daniel 9. Specifically mentioned in Daniel 9. And that's when COVID began. We have famine coming, just listen to what the UN says, and war coming. And all these things are going to take place over the next 12 years. UN is talking about 2.7, trying to stay below 1.5, but it's going to get much, much worse. The Euphrates is already drying up. The second longest river in South America has dried up. We are in trouble. And the only way to fix this, not through carbon tax, not through other taxes, not sending money to the UN. The only way to fix this is by repenting and returning to God and obeying His commandments. That's how you will fix climate change, global warming, and all these other things that are happening.
But if you will not listen to me, and will not do all these commandments, and if you shall despise my statutes, or if your soul hates my judgments, so that you will not do all my commandments, so that you break my covenant, I will also do this to you. I will even appoint terror over you. Consumption and burning fever, consuming the eyes and causing sorrow of heart. And you shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. And I will set my face against you, and you shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and you shall flee when none pursues you. And if you will not yet listen to me for all this, then I will punish you 7 times more for your sins. And I will break the pride of your power. And I will make your heaven like iron and your earth like bronze, and your strength shall be spent in vain. For your land shall not yield its increase, neither shall the trees of the field yield their fruits. And if you walk contrary to me and will not listen to me, I will bring 7 times more plagues on you according to your sins. I will also send wild beasts among you, who shall bereave you. And I will destroy your cattle and make you few. And your highways shall be deserted. And if you will not be reformed by me for these things, but will still walk contrary to me, then I will walk contrary to you, and will punish you 7 times more for your sins. And I will bring a sword on you that shall execute the vengeance of the covenant. And when you are gathered inside your cities, I will send the plagues among you, and you shall be delivered into the hand of the enemy. When I have broken the staff of your bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall deliver you your bread again by weight, and you shall eat and not be satisfied. You can only understand Bible prophecy when you understand when the Sabbatical and Jubilee years are. Get your copy of Remember the Sabbatical Year of 2016 and the 2300 Days of Hell at sightedmoon.com today. The end is much closer than you realize.